first for introducing me to Zoom 3 years ago when I was the NEC liaison person. I never imagined it would become such a part of our daily lives. And I'd especially like to thank Alan Aitkenhead for helping CLP secretaries adapt to the new normal. I was on the NEC for 18 years as part of the Grassroots Alliance, from Tony Blair's time when we were in a minority of 4, through to the revival of socialism under Jeremy Corbyn. Throughout that time, I voted against Trident, Iraq and austerity, and for public services, housing and decent pensions and benefits. I'm a Democrat. I voted for Jeremy to be on the ballot in 2016 and against the 6-month cut-off date, which stopped many members voting. I haven't agreed with every leader, but I've always respected their mandate. It was wrong for members, including MPs, to undermine Jeremy, and it's wrong to undermine Keir Starmer now. And I delivered the first freestanding women's conference for more than 20 years. So moving on, in 2018, the NEC promised to review membership rates and the share of subscriptions, which comes back to CLPs. Heard nothing from that for 2 years, while money must be piling up in central funds. I will work to deliver a fair share to the grassroots. Now, Ally doesn't benefit from UK support, and on the NEC I got those costs credited to Ally, and also several grants from the NEC Development Funds. But the rules still don't allow young or unwaged Ally members to pay reduced subscriptions. That is wrong, and I will work to change it. These are practical actions so that you will have more money to spend on your priorities. You sent me 4 questions in advance. On voting rights after 15 years, I argued for that in the National Policy Forum, along with Joss Gallagher, but was massively outvoted. I support the carbon emissions target, but we do have to be in government if we're going to deliver it before 2030. On false elections, the process costs months, costs a fortune and takes months. In Oxford, we spent a month reselecting the fantastic Annalise Dodds. The NEC imposed the candidate on Oxford West at the last minute against their wishes. Seats without Labour candidates are my priority. And on anti-racism, I need more than 3 seconds, but I've answered the questions fully in Socialists on Colour, Socialists of Colour, and I'll paste the link to that in the website. So thank you. And thank you for your consideration. I mean, I was there in 2016, and I agree with Joanna about the NEC leading by example, but it's the general standards of behaviour at every level of the party, and this is not I mean, it's partly factional, but it's partly all sorts of poison seems to have come out, and even things like you'd think applause is a positive thing. After one of our meetings last year, a member said to me, you know, when you get those raucous whooping noises and feet stamping, somebody said, I never knew applause could be so intimidating. And I don't know how we've got into that. We had to close the chat column on a recent meeting because it was being used by people to say things about other people, and I just don't know how we've got into this place. It's very difficult for an independent complaints process, though, because in a way, if you're looking at Facebook posts or tweets and sort of stuff in black and white, it's kind of easy to decide. But if it's people not getting on with other people, as a trade union rep for 30 years, I know those are the most difficult situations to deal with, because for every person A that complains about person B will have something to say about what person A is doing wrong. So I really don't know. It's very hard to establish truth, and maybe that's not the point. I sometimes feel like what we need is kind of communal relationship counselling. On on the National Policy Forum, it's been going for 22 years, and when I go to CLPs and ask them who are the people that represent you as a CLP on the NPF, they've rarely been able to name more than one. Labour International at least elects its own representative directly, and that's good. But after 22 years and at least 4 major reviews, it is not working. What members want, what CLPs want, what branches want is somebody to, when they send something in, they want somebody to say, yes, we've read it, yes, we will pass it on. It's possible the policy commissions could do this because they seem to be working. Again, the Party Democracy Review promised a new system 2 years ago, but I haven't really heard of any progress on that, and maybe some of the people who've been on the NEC could explain where that's got to. It doesn't matter. I mean, yes, I would recognise the Palestinian state, and how you deal with a right-wing government in Israel is like a common problem about how do you deal with the government in the United States and increasingly the government in Britain. There's no easy answer. So the answer to part 1 is easy. The answer to part 2 is difficult. I don't have an easy answer. Okay, thanks. Well, I thought I'd pick up a couple of things I didn't have time to reply to earlier. The first is on racism, where I support all BAME shortlists, and I would listen to members of colour on what more we need to do at every level. But what we're finding is that increasingly the word BAME is disliked as a catch-all term, and there are differences between Black, Asian, Chinese, Romani and traveller communities which we have to address. So BAME itself has become a term that Black members in particular aren't happy with. The second was on trans issues, where I had a bit of an eye-opener actually. I put out a statement on Twitter saying that trans rights are human rights, trans women are women, trans men are men, trans women in the party have the right to stand for all women shortlists or as women's officers. And I got an astonishing amount of vitriol for stating what I thought was a very moderate position and squarely in line with party policy. So I'm learning on that one. And the final thing I wanted to say is on Labour International itself. When I became well involved back 3-4 years ago, the membership had, I think, multiplied by a factor of 5 or 6. And it was a fairly turbulent time for all of us, a lot of learning experiences. And Labour International is viewed by some at the centre as kind of a problem and an outlier and odd. I think the last 6 months during lockdown have shown that Labour International is actually a pioneer and is leading in so many ways that would benefit CLPs across the country. So I would hope, if elected, to take that forward in partnership with you. Thank you.